join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the city manager call the roll?
Yes. Councilperson Clure.
Here.
Councilperson Collings.
Here.
Councilperson Stearns.
Here.
Councilperson Redmond.
He will be absent.
Okay, and Mayor Stacklett.
Here. All right. Special presentations are next, and we actually have one. Is Kayla Burns here?
So Kayla contacted me, and according to the chamber board, she thought it would be best if each of the three proposal submitters got up and gave their spiel. So whoever wants to go first.
So do we have three? 1, 2. You're not? No? So we have 2 out of 3, it looks like.
2 out of 3.
Okay. So who would like to go first? Josh?
Wait for the train.
And I sent the proposal to you. You have that?
I'm sorry?
I sent the proposal. Do you have that for the, or do you not have the screen this time?
Not anymore. We don't.
Oh, okay. Well, a lot of it was visual, so I guess to summarize all of this, we've been doing it for about 2.5 years, and we've had great progress. We have the data and the analytics of everything over time. We've sent that quarterly, and we're happy with the budget we've had, what we've been able to do. And I think our goal still remains the same. Our objective continues to be to elevate the brand awareness and increase tourism to Mount Shasta and the surrounding areas. We strive to provide essential information to travelers, ensuring their experience is exceptionally positive, which in turn promotes repeat visits and recommendations to friends and family. I think over time we've only gotten better at this with more data, and our strategy is basically the same, but this year we want to kind of emphasize, if selected, quality over quantity, and we plan to curate engaging high quality content that captures the essence of Mount Shasta, focusing on creating meaningful interactions rather than increasing post volume. And this approach aims to build a loyal community of followers and promote Mount Shasta through personal recommendations. The current scope of work is 15 posts and stories per month with seasonal video production and updates, website updates and maintenance, as well as e-commerce help with the online store, digital ad campaigns for $215 a month, YouTube account management, customer relationship management, and again, quarterly analytics and reporting on all social media and website traffic. And that has been $3,200 a month. The proposed scope of work is to have 9 high-quality posts and reels, so more of a focus on video, short-form video content, which has been trending to be better with engagement. It just takes more time. It takes more work. As well as having new seasonal videos for summer and winter. The current scope of work is we change about 15 to 20% of the old videos, but it's starting to feel like a very recycled seasonal content. So creating new videos for only summer and winter, so having more of original content, but not being able to do it for every single season is the goal. As well as updating the website based on the traffic and the analytics we've seen. A bit of a website overhaul would be nice. Still e-commerce help. Upping the digital ad marketing campaigns for $250 per month. That's been shown to have a lot of reach, which is good. Continuing with the YouTube account management, having a higher degree of customer relationship management, interacting with the people on social media, and continue with quarter analytics reporting on all social media and website traffic. And that would be for the same amount of money, so we've just kind of rearranged things around. Just wanted to reiterate our professionalism and that we are armed with state-of-the-art cameras, drones. We are FAA Part 107 certified to fly for commercial purposes. We're very proficient in the suite of Adobe and all of the editing. And we have an in-depth knowledge of Meta and its business integrations with social media. And I have some graphs of our growth since inception. So we've gone from around 2,000 followers to almost 9,000 since we've taken over. So we've had exceptional growth, and it's continuing to get better, not only since inception, but since last year when we decided to change as well. And just for comparison, we know that Visit Reading has $1 million budget, and they have 22,000 Instagram followers. And Siskiyou has a budget about 5 times our size currently, and they have about 15.5 thousand Instagram followers. So what we've been able to accomplish with a much smaller budget is pretty exceptional. And that's, again, not even just social media, that's including website design, maintenance, and videography. And I know Todd had given me the TOT numbers for Q1 through 3. I don't know if Q4 is available now, but it looked like we were about $279,000. If we got $279,000, we would be on target for last year, and hopefully we at least met that or exceeded it. And yeah, thank you for your consideration. I can send this over if anybody wanted to actually see the numbers and things like that. Yep.
Would you send it to all of us?
Sure, absolutely. I'd just like to say that also, I tried to prepare a proposal based on what I think we should do and what I think we need, but it sounds like there's ideas that people have about maybe what should be changed or different, but without consulting with anybody to know what those ideas are, I can't really shape a proposal to what would be the most efficient. And that's what I would really like to do, is actually to talk with whoever's going to make the final decision and what they want, because it's not that this has to be this way, it could be different ways, but we need to know what the goals are to be met.
To the chair. Are you under contract until a certain time? Are we negotiating that now? What is?
It ended on July 8th.
July 8th. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, why would you only do videos, new videos for summer and winter when our shoulder seasons, spring and fall, are the least busy? Those are the ones that we need to strengthen.
I guess that just depends again on the goals. It could be that the busiest seasons tend to be winter and summer, and so instead of trying to lean on creating a better shoulder season, we just wanted to increase the dominant seasons that most people want to be here for. That doesn't mean that it has to be that way. That was just the strategy that we thought was a good idea.
Thank you.
No more questions? All right, look forward to seeing your actual
Yeah.
presentation. Sorry about the change. Thank you, Josh. Next, go ahead and tell us who you are and your company.
Hi, my name is Billie Jean Sanders. I run Tragically Glib LLC, which is a boutique photography and videography firm. I also do social media and have done multiple campaigns for some local, not local businesses, but businesses in Sacramento. And I was told that you would have seen my marketing plan or had discussed it beforehand, but if not, I can go over a bit of it right now. So the idea of having a social media focus for Mount Shasta is to create conversion, which is people who see it and want to come spend money here. Trying to convert new visitors, the numbers currently say that funnel-wise, you get about 2 to 4%. That means for every 100 people, you get maybe 2 to 4 that actually spend any money. I've looked at your current social media plan, and excuse me, and I decided that my idea for it would be a different area of focus. You have wilderness tourism, leisure tourism, you have, leisure tourism and spiritual tourism, which a couple of those I feel like have been a bit neglected in the idea of why people come to Mount Shasta. There's a huge amount of money in spiritual tourism, yoga retreats, healing things on the mountain where Native Americans participate. It's a very interesting idea that we can kind of combine a lot of this into a marketing plan where we have so many options. It's not one product we're selling, but there's a multitude of products between restaurants, between hotels, between even our museum. Like there hasn't been much documented about what historical tourism there is up here, where there's quite a bit. Since the idea of, sorry, I go through my notes here. My plan is to do a multimedia approach using photography, video, drone, and graphic design, and with the website to create really compelling content that makes people want to come. The idea is also the algorithms for social medias are moving away from reposted content and moving towards original content. So most of my time would be spent creating original content and branding it and putting it out that people are going to want to use and see. And there's also an idea of saturation. I wrote in my paper that many things need their own little marketing plans, like our 4th of July festival. It's huge. Tons of people come here. So it should be advertised as such to try to bring more commerce in. The Chamber of Commerce golf tournament, any type of fundraiser that the city does to get participation, even from locals. We want both those conversions. We want local money being spent more. If it's just going out to dinner because you saw a good picture of a meal at Pipeline, that we want to motivate not only the locals, but people to come here. I think I posted 3 different tiers of options. These are still negotiable. This was just a plan without much, as much research that I could do in a short period of time when I found out it was available. I have a $30,000 tier proposal, a $27,000, and a $24,000. Each include multiple posts per month, each increasing amount per each one. And then videos highlighting local events, local businesses, and community news. I believe the idea of our website should be definitely to inform, educate, and then, of course, convert and draw money in. And then, of course, that would include the monthly engagement with followers, replying to comments, messages, informing people, so customer relations, and then analytic reports using AI, which is a big part of how people are doing everything on social media now, is using AI to calculate our follows, calculate our viewers, see what our impact is, and then place strategic marketing, either ads or build content that will drive those consumers to come back. Let's see, do we have any questions you'd like to ask me?
Questions?
I haven't seen anything that you produced.
Okay.
So, and I don't know if other council members have or not.
All right.
And again, I would ask that you provide that to us.
Absolutely. I sent Kayla Byrne multiple links to both my website, my information. I thought she put that out, but I will happy to be sending that to any of you.
I'll reach out to her tomorrow and then make sure we get it to you guys.
Okay.
Yeah, let me make sure I make a note of that.
Go ahead, Tessa.
Hi.
Hi.
You mentioned that you had helped some businesses in Sacramento. Are you a local here in town?
I am a local here now, yes.
And how long have you lived here?
18 months.
Okay.
And addressing that, I know that I'm not an expert on Mount Shasta, so my goal would be to work really closely with the Chamber of Commerce and discuss with them what the essential businesses they felt should be paid more attention to. Using numbers, I haven't gotten the numbers for the tourism here yet, but I'm sure I could talk to them and understand that we can cooperate very closely with the idea of what they see, because they are the visitor center, what they're seeing, what questions they have, and what they feel might need to be more emphasized in their social media programming.
Thank you.
Jeff? No questions? Okay, me either. Thank you for your presentation. Look forward to seeing your material online also. Sorry for not being able to do the presentations anymore, but it's a decision we made. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, and I'll be happy to email this all to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do that. All right, that is our presentation regarding.
Mr. Mayor, may I comment on this agenda item?
No. You'll be able to comment in public comment about it. Okay, David? So just wait for public comment, which is coming up, so. So we're moving into public comment. It starts now, and David, if you want to talk about that item, go ahead.
David Ream, Mount Shasta, California. Paying attention to local politics seemed prudent to me, having a tourist business in the middle of our town. I've seen a number of politicians, city staff, and citizens throughout the years. We all have our own style. The current mayor has a different respect for our First Amendment, with allowing citizens to ask questions, and the staff has followed with actually offering their answers. Seems like a huge step forward in respecting our rights, in particular the Constitution, quote, shall make no law prohibiting the free exercise to petition the government for a redress of grievances, end quote. Words do have meanings, and truly, hopefully, the pen is mightier than the sword. I'll first define a few words for clarity. A pedophile, according to Siri, is, quote, a person who is sexually attracted to children, end quote. Secondly, bestiality is, quote, savagely cruel or depraved behavior, and number two, sexual intercourse between a person and an animal, end quote. These words very likely offend some within earshot. If listening, please ask yourself, which would be more offensive to you to be called? Furthermore, please imagine the harm done if you have been declared such in public for going on 10 years. What harm would that do to your business, your reputation, most importantly, your soul? Perhaps you don't believe you have a soul. Perhaps you don't believe in God. Perhaps you think there is no right and wrong. Or perhaps you do. Lastly, consider yourself a tourist, newly arrived to our fair city, or a potential investor. Continue on my hypothetical and imagine you overheard such vile accusations shouted in broad daylight from one citizen to another. Would you want to stay in this small town on a big mountain? Would you want to invest your hard-earned money in a future business in this sort of environment? Hopefully, pretty much everyone realizes our town lives on tourism. To the contrary, though, surely there exist individuals that consider tourism unwanted and prefer a town of fighting drunks. Any questions?
No, you didn't want to talk about the marketing? No?
Yes, I would.
Okay, I thought that was you.
Thank you very much.
You have 1 minute left.
Oh, I got 1 minute?
Yeah. I don't think anyone's keeping time, and I'm keeping time now.
Well,
They are.
that's my minute?
Yeah.
See,
No,
I
no.
write these thinking I have 3 minutes, so I
Hold
might
on a
be off
second, David.
schedule.
That was the end of your first one there, so go ahead, David.
Yeah. Are you keeping time?
Yes, sir.
Yep. Okay.
So I got 3 minutes?
You got 1 minute.
Oh, 1 minute.
Yeah. I thought you wanted to speak about.
I did. I
Go
wanted
ahead.
to speak to both items.
Then go ahead.
Okay. Interrupt me when you feel free. I have been retired for some 3 years now as an innkeeper. In those previous 28 years, we were members of the Chamber of Commerce. As in so many things, much has changed with the Chamber. The location where the office resides next to the Visitors Bureau and in front of our peace mural has never looked more charming and attractive. In the beginning of my time here, I would voluntarily garden in and around this building. I also used to attend their many meetings, which used to have in attendance many business owners. Not sure such crowded meetings still occur, but I would be surprised if it is so. As an innkeeper, my now ex-partner and I believe that beauty attracts. So gardening was one of our prime directives, both inside and out. As beauty attracts, so much so must ugliness repulse. Curious if the present chamber representatives would agree. Thank you for your latest contribution to the beauty of our tourist town. May more come to this basic understanding.
Thank you, David. And anyone else in the audience would like to speak? Yes, name and town of residence. Okay.
Linda Cabito. I do Clean and Safe Mount Shasta on Facebook for over 6-7 years. So I do have pictures. I was just a little concerned on the plaza part of town where it has the, you know, the recycling can, I guess what you call it. So I've been there a few times, and each time I've gone there, it just looks the same. There's trash in there, there's half recycling, half not recycling. So what I printed out for you guys, because I do a lot of recycling, I also do 13 adopt a highway sites for Caltrans that I'm doing. And I've been working with Belinda Higuera with Clean and Safe Volunteer. So I'm volunteer, I'm not getting paid to do any of this stuff. So I have pictures to show you because I called Summit Disposal, well actually I called Bernie Disposal. They don't pick up this recycling. I talked to Erin today and she says, they do pick up recycling. And I said, no, they don't. And she says, yes, they do. So I was just trying to find out who does and who doesn't. I mean, it's not that kind of a big deal because as of June 1st, you know that the Opportunity Center is not taking any more non-CRV. Yeah. Okay. So these are just pictures that I took of today of that. No recycling, recycling. So you don't want to give a facade to the tourists and the people in town that, oh, we're all recycling, we're all doing a
Hey,
good
hey,
thing.
Linda, can I interrupt you a second? Can you get back on the mic so we can make sure
Yeah.
people
It's just
hear you?
easier for me to walk around. But
Yep.
Anyway, so by me doing my recycling that I do, I just happened to notice that there was no bags in it 2 or 3 times that I went. There's half trash, half recycling. Where is it going? It's going into the dump. And that's fine because that's what everybody else is doing. So I have 5 to 8 people giving me the recycling because it helps their garbage not be so full, and then it helps me financially. I make really good money. So with my 13 Adopt a Highway sites, when I first started, I made $1,000 in recycling. Second year, I made $1,200, and I'm at $1,300 right now because the new law had just changed. And I don't know if any of you guys know this, a lot of people don't know. As of January 1st, this law changed. So you get more money. So in turn, if Mount Shasta wanted to make more money for their community, if you had somebody that goes and gets it, gets the money, brings it back to you, love is fair in war. But another thing, I went on Spring Hill Road, taking some trash from behind the radio station. Fred Erickson and Vicki Erickson call me all the time. They've had to board that place up 4 different times because it's been broken in 4 different times. I'm on my way taking a shopping cart full of vacuum cleaners, air conditioners, shoes, you name it. And then on the way there, this is 10 bags of trash that was on the road that I cleaned up. So, but I did call the police and they didn't want nothing to do with it. And inside the bags had people's prescriptions. I had to take it upon myself to go to their house and say, don't do this again. So I just want a little help. I don't want praise or pride or anything. I just want people to help pick it up.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Are you the person I see on 89 picking up
Yeah,
stuff?
I have 5 sites.
Yeah.
I have
okay,
5
so-
sites on 89. I actually gained 13 sites. I'm only supposed to have 10. But since the Caltrans person says since they know that I go out and do it, I was allowed 13 because I changed it from Cabito's small engine repair to Cabito's cleanup crew.
Okay.
And then I have 4 on 97 and I have 3 on Highway 3.
Okay. Well,
So, and I
thanks for all
don't
the...
get paid anymore. But yeah, it's just what I do. So.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for helping out with our messes.
Well, it's just, you know, I live here too. You guys all live here. You know, keep it clean, pick it up, help me out.
So, Todd, just to clarify, our Public Works Department is responsible for keeping up Parker Plaza, right?
They are. They are. I'll find
I'll
out
talk
more.
to you in private about
Yeah,
some
please.
things regarding Parker Plaza and the clocks that don't work and so forth.
Yeah.
Any other public speakers? Come on up. Name and town of residence, please.
Hello. I'm Daisy. I was here to speak on proposal of the social media marketing, and I apologize, I was late. I was told the community house, and but I'm here now. Yeah, and I live here in Mount Shasta, and so I just wanted to speak to our intentions and what we'd like to bring to the Visit Mount Shasta brand and name is that while Mount Shasta is renowned for its beautiful nature, we also have tourists here that are looking for more than just hiking spots. And so our intention is to really expand the target audience for what we're using with social media. And then also with that is Facebook and Instagram is great for locals, but in attracting new tourists and offering information to tourists who are coming to the town for the first time, we'd like to also integrate YouTube into the social media mix, because often when people Google something, what first comes up more than anything is actually YouTube videos, more than Instagram and more than Facebook. Yeah, and so that's really just our intention of wanting to kind of expand the target to try to engage more, especially with the local businesses, because, you know, we're more than just beautiful nature, we're people too, and we all have stories here, and so we'd really love to highlight that and really tell our story and tell our history here. My specialty is marketing, project management, communications, basically creating content calendars, getting organized, and making sure everything is delivered on time and that everything is fulfilled in a timely manner, and that if there's any clarifications or adjustments needed or questions is to communicate that. And then my partner, who is out of town right now, but he would love to have been here, his specialty is photography and videography, and so we make a really good team. He kind of gets all the content and then we put it together. We put it all together. Yeah. Does anyone have any questions for me, or?
Can you submit a proposal to City Hall regarding what you would like to do? You're the third marketing
Yeah.
business that you missed your slot. So
Daisy, did you submit to Kayla?
I did.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll reach out to Kayla and we'll get everything in one email to council.
Okay, wonderful.
Great.
Yeah, there's a cover letter, and then we're offering 3 different tiers depending on your budget.
Okay.
Yeah, and just, you know, it kind of goes from there, whatever you guys want. Yeah.
go ahead, Tim.
Could you expand upon your thoughts about YouTube?
Yeah, sure. On why we think it's important, or just in general?
How would you do it, and what are you thinking about in terms of content?
Yeah, sure. So in terms of content, YouTube works really great for short informational videos. And so let's say if someone wants to Google a restaurant or a business, that they would actually, instead of just getting the business's website, there would actually be a short video that introduces the owner, the outside, the environment, and just gives visual feedback, especially for younger generations. We like the short, instant videos. And that seems to be really successful in terms of like social media trends. Yeah, so like interviews with the locals. I don't know if anyone saw the Shasta Stories video. The movies, yeah, it was great. I was really inspired by her work and being able to like tell the stories of the locals who actually lived here. So to be able to see the faces behind the businesses and be able to really support them and guide tourists to the businesses here, because as I think you were saying, is that we are a tourist town. Tourism is a huge part of our economic stability here. So to be able to speak more to them and give them more information than just the face, you know, really like the personality behind the story behind the business. Give it some feeling. Does that answer your question?
Okay, thanks, Daisy.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other public speakers? No? All right, we'll close public comment section at this time. Move on to staff and council comments. We'll start with the city manager, as usual.
Okay. So the chief's going to speak about this a little bit. We have one of the things that council has asked us to bring back, and that's a graffiti ordinance. We'll be bringing this back to council at the next hearing in August. The commercial appraisal for MIA appraisal for the landing is underway. We originally had a to-do date 2 months after we executed that contract, which is very quick in terms of typically to be able to book a commercial appraiser, it's about a year out. We got a firm to come on, take it on, and they've now shortened that due date to the end of August, which is making developers really happy. And so that's in progress. There is, it's been about a year, but there was a grant the city was awarded for developing active transportation projects for Lake Street. And it took a while for our contract to be signed by Caltrans. It was, and put out an RFP. The RFP was awarded, and we have a firm now on that's starting that work, and they are, again, developing a plan for Lake Street, the confines of where the Lake Street reconstruction is going to happen in 2026. And these design improvements, whether they're mid-block crossings, narrowing lanes on Lake Street to slow traffic, the addition of separated bike lanes and new curb cuts, new sidewalks, all of that will then be kind of folded in for the plans for Lake Street reconstruction and will be part of what happens in 2026. We also have an award for that we received last year as well, Safe Streets for All, just about $200,000, and that is so that RFP is written and that is posted. The idea is the winning firm would do a safety audit of the city. They would look at paths, sidewalks, streets, and figure out where there are geometric issues and pinch points and areas that are unsafe, and then come up with a catalog of projects based on the severity of the particular deficiency that they find, and put together a capital projects list of what we need to fix to make sure that those that are riding, walking, and driving in the city are safer and there are less crashes in general. We have an EIFD charter and set of bylaws that John Kenny has under review for the second time. That's part of what we need to get our EIFD, Enhanced Infrastructure Finance District, approved by the state. Hopefully we're going to have final comments on that, and we get that back to Joe Dieguez at our consulting firm, Cosmont LLC. And that's, well, actually, I'll add one more thing. as you all know, been in negotiations for the Deck 6 well on One Shasta LLC's site. It's right at the right elevation. It's really the only location in town for us to be able to pump water to balance out the city's water supply. The owner believes that he has some unknown financial gain for the water, so he's unwilling to move on that piece. But what he has done is agreed and assigned papers to allow us to start environmental work for, and he's granting us the tank site and the easements to get to it. And now we're starting environmental work on that, and we have a feeling that as time progresses, given the land use covenants and the restrictions on the use of that water, that he'll come to the realization through time that the only way for him to serve his customers as he develops that property is for that water to be treated by the city. So we're just waiting on that part until there's more understanding on One Shasta's part.
So Todd, is there any more clarity on the 2 parcels of the old Beers property and where we may head with that?
Yeah. So I had a conversation with the owner about the structure itself. If you remember, the commercial appraisal came back at negative 100,000, and that isn't necessarily fixed. With the folks that took a look at it said, it's going to cost at least $500,000 to clean it up. We're going to have to remove 6 feet down to the water table and remove that, take that dirty dirt somewhere else. The closest location is in Red Bluff, and it may actually be more expensive when we get down there. So I said it's not likely the city is going to want to pursue that site, but told them we haven't finished the commercial appraisal for the 2 unpaved parcels. We need to figure out, what our baseline environmental conditions are. So we have a firm coming up this week to drill 4 test wells, draw water samples, test that to make sure that if we decide that we're going to move forward with the purchase, we can agree on a purchase price and bought those 2 unpaved parcels, that we are not contaminating groundwater, which is going to put us in jeopardy in the future. So I don't think we're going to find any issues, but we want to make sure we have that surety and put that in the bank if we were to purchase the 2 parcels, so nobody can come back after the fact and say, hey, you guys are the source of this pollution. So it's happening. Brownell's aware of it, and we'll know by the end of the month.
Okay, and our lease on the overall property is through September, right?
We have the 3 parcels tied up through the end of August.
That's it, just through the end of August?
Yep.
Okay, so the owner may want some indication of what we're going to do, or because you may want to. Well, you already told them that we're not going to pursue the building,
the structure
parcel. Yeah, so he'll probably just renew a lease with the current tenant.
Most likely, and I spoke to him last week. We had a pretty lengthy discussion, and told him what the game plan is, where we're at, and to stay tuned.
Okay.
And so.
All right, so then in September, we could hopefully, with the information from the drilling, we can make some sort of rational decision on what to do with that.
Correct.
Those 2 parcels.
And probably by the end of August, but we have our ad hoc committee about the couplet, and
all right.
But
that is the key. That is a key piece to our overall thinking regarding the couplet to balance out the parking situation. All right, Chief, anything to say?
Thank you, Mayor. Give you an update. Don't know if you guys are following it, but our canine Artie suffered a medical emergency last week after performing at the National Night Out up in Wairika. He just got released from the hospital today. So he's back home with Walter. He came in the office today. He's bouncing around. He's pretty excited. He doesn't like the cone of shame right now, but it looks like he's through the hard part now. I haven't checked today, but the Canine Association started a GoFundMe
to help support and pay for some of the hospital bills. And last time I looked, and this was a couple days ago, they were over $17,000. And so that should be coming to the city to help pay for the funds from the Canine Association. As far as our officers go, since the last time we've met, we've had officers through the California Law Enforcement Mutual Aid Agreement, statewide agreement. They've been dispatched and served on the Shelley Fire out of Etna, and they've also served on the Gold Complex, the Park Fire down out of Chico, with us just recently getting them all back off of that. And then, of course, they assisted with the fair. And then on my part, I was fortunate enough to be accepted to the National Command Conference, which is put on by the FBI. So I got to spend a week in Quantico going over, it was primarily for officer wellness and leadership and teaching the next future leaders. So it was a pretty good honor there. And then finally, I'm going to get up. We have a local Mount Shasta 2022 high school graduate who did a senior project with and dispatch for her senior project, who is now our newest part-time on-call dispatcher. So I'm going to introduce council to Megan Lee. So Megan is still in her training process, but she's on the radio now and she's talking, and on top of doing this, she's going to COS to get her degree in early childhood development. It's kind of an honor anytime you get the youth come in and then stay here and want to work and be part of it. So guys, this is Megan.
Welcome.
Welcome aboard, Megan. Thanks for joining the team. Anything else, Chief?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay. And I don't know if anyone's noticed, but the derelict vehicles in public parking spaces seem to have really gone down to zero. So you want to comment on that?
So essentially,
Seems like-
again, when we came to council, we changed the time parking there in the from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. no parking behind the old Burger Express, behind Parker Plaza. That stopped the campers. And then more importantly, the Supreme Court came out in People v. Grants Pass v. Johnson and reversed the Boise v. Martin. So we were able to enforce the camping ordinances that the city had already on the books. And yeah, so people are adhering to the restrictions there. The officers are going there, code enforcement's checking on it, and it's definitely helped keep it clean at night.
All right, well, thank you, Chief. City Planner, do you have anything you want to say now that you're not going to say later?
No, I don't. I'll say it.
Thanks. And the dynamic duo over here?
We're good.
Okay. I don't have anything to say at this point. No? Okay. I'll move on to, committee updates. City Manager, any updates on those 3 committees, really?
The DIAC hasn't met since our last meeting, but we did hold
The library tax.
Library Expansion Committee meeting, and as many of you know, we have a firm, Nolan Tam Architects, out of Oakland, who specializes in public facilities, especially with the redesign of libraries. They came back with 3 concepts for the library, with kind of starting obviously with a light touch, kind of a medium touch, and a more in-depth revamp or expansion. And of course, with that, they did the pricing, and low, medium, high. You're going to have low, medium, and high prices. So what we have proposed to do is figure out, first finalize the pricing for the most extensive option, figure out that we're going to have about $200,000 we bring that's above and beyond the operating costs for the library that we can leverage in terms of financing to help with this, but we're going to take a crack at going out to foundations and seeking public donations here in the city and elsewhere to see if we can cover that gap. And we might as well, we've put the work in, we've got a world-class architecture firm on board. Let's go for the the real spectacular option. And if we fall short, then we'll land somewhere in between. So that's where we are. We've got some minor details to work out in terms of internal circulation and storage before we move forward, but we're hoping that we can get those issues resolved this week. And that's about it. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, so I'll just add, I left that meeting early because I had to go to another meeting for the public. The full build-out, which includes 2,000 square feet of new square footage, and then a renovation of what exists, is $5.2 million. And then in between that are basically three other, below that are three other choices that range from, $2 million to 3.9, and essentially different renovations or expansions are not included in those. So I'll spare the details right now. I assume this is somewhat public information. If people are really interested, they can come in to City Hall and get that, or if it's on our website, you can see it there. So it sounds like after I left, the decision was to try to go for the full package at $5.2 million. So the library tax fund has a reserve now of probably a little over $1 million, 1.3. So I said before I left, there's about a $1 million down payment there, and there'd still be money left over for reserve. It costs about $200,000 to run the library. The library tax is generating $400,000 a year at this point. So with the down payment, you'd still have a nice little reserve to cover at least 1 year's expenses if something really traumatic were to happen. But the surplus funds, depending on the interest rate you would get on a loan, would barely cover the payment probably. So if we're going to go for the big build out and renovation at $5.2 million, there needs to be additional funds put as a down payment. So say about another $1 million, and that's where the fundraising, grant writing comes in. There are state grants for libraries, which we already applied for. We were rejected, but we were relatively high in the pecking order as far as a future recipient. However, the state is in dire fiscal straits, and so those grantees, the ones who were awarded grants for their libraries, were put on hold because there's no money to do that right now in Sacramento. So then the USDA also has a library fund, and you can apply for grants and loans there too. So I think also that I'm assuming that Friends of the Library and LTAC, we're talking about actually going to other potential donors, right?
Yes, and the usual suspects in terms of the Ford Foundation, McConnell, and some others.
Right. So, and just Driscoll. And if the funds are raised and you put a $2 million down payment on this, I think the numbers will pencil out and we'll be able to do the full project. But I think we need to raise another $1 million. And so there you have it. And now I don't have to do my report on the library meeting later on today, later on this meeting. All right, let's move on to, that's it, right, Todd, for committee reports? No more committee?
That's it.
Okay. So move on to consent agenda. There's only 3 parts today. Consent agenda. City manager recommends approval of the following consent agenda items. All resolutions and ordinances on this agenda or added hereto shall be introduced or adopted as applicable by title only, and the full reading thereof is hereby waived. Before I go on, I believe we're on CCR 2424. Did Kathy give you that?
She didn't.
I know, I'm pretty sure we definitely did 22, and I think we did 23 at the last meeting. I rely on Kathy to give us the exact.
I think we could adopt it as next number in order.
Next, You can say that, and you're the expert on these things. Thank you, Tim. All right, approval of minutes, July 22nd, 2024, regular meeting, and July 29th, 2024, special meeting. B, approval of disbursements, accounts payable, July 22nd and July 23rd, 2024. Total gross payroll and taxes for period ending July 21st, 2024. C, adoption of resolution CCR-24- the number that appropriately follows.
Next
Click-
order.
the-
Next number.
The
in
next
order.
number, is that the language you use? Thank you. And claiming the city's apportionment of local transportation funds.
I move to approve consent agenda items A through C, including CCR-24- next number available. By title only.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 And aye. Any opposed? All right, city manager, do you have the vote on that? And we have an absence in Redmond. All right, moving on. This is going to be a public hearing regarding the Pine Street project closeout. And our finance director, Muriel Terrell, will have the floor on this item.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Before you is the required public hearing for the closeout of the Pine Street Water Improvement Project, in which case we were able to do construction of 6,750 feet of water mains, 69 water services, 9 fire hydrants, and a pressure-reducing valve. That project funded through CDBG. Because of that particular area in town met the requirement for income in that area, so we were able to get this infrastructure project. It's one of the first infrastructure projects we've been able to be approved for through CDBG, and this is a part of the required, like I said, public hearing to let people who want to comment on it or anything else related to that project, they would have the ability to then do so.
Thank you so much, Muriel, and we'll go to clarifying questions from council. I think it's all straightforward. And so we'll open up the public hearing at this point. Those in the audience that would like to comment on this item, please come forward. This was a water project done and completed about a year ago, approximately. Replaced all the lines, all the water lines in the Pine Street, Cedar Street area of town. So we have no takers for this public hearing.
I will ask a question.
You're going to ask a question? So I'll close the public hearing, get back to clarifying questions, and then we'll open up public hearing one more time.
Well, the report was straightforward. I noticed, however, that your report indicated the costs went up after we got the grant funding, so we weren't able to provide as much as was originally intended. What's left to be done?
I don't know. How's that for an answer?
Can I chime in?
Sure.
Because this goes back to our meeting in March of '22. You might remember. Okay, you don't remember. Well, I do, because I care about infrastructure so deeply. Yeah, so I think they pulled the pipe replacements on Lake Street and part of Mount Shasta Boulevard, and they put them on the next project, which they call the Orem Street project, which is really the older neighborhood from Orem down to Old McLeod Road, where all those pipes are going to be replaced, plus the ones that they had to skip over because I don't think the funding covered it.
Right.
There's a section of Lake Street, which is super old pipes, basically by the fire department, I think. And then really old pipes on Mount Shasta Boulevard in the 400 or 500 block area. And they were not covered in the Pine Street project like originally intended, from what I recall. So that may be the answer.
Thank you.
All right, public hearing one more time. Any takers? All right, the public hearing on this item is closed. Any comments, discussion, fellow council members? If not, I'd like a motion, and maybe Mr. Stern's the best one for that, since he'll know the language that's needed since we
Move to approve resolution CCR-24, next number in order. A resolution, City Council of the City of Mount Shasta authorizing and approving the completion of the Pine Street Water System Improvement Project for the 20 CDBG 12093 grant by title only.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 And aye. And opposed? And we have Redmond absent on that one. Great. Public hearing number 2. Agenda item number 9. Public hearing, recommended findings of CEQA exemption and amendment of 2023 through 2031 housing element update. Funding Director has the floor.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. Briefly, I'll overview the staff report and open it up for questions. As you recall, roughly 8 months ago, following a near 2-year community process, this body adopted the 2023-31 housing element of the general plan. That document was sent to the State Department of Housing and Community Development, otherwise known as HCD, which I refer to over and over and over again in this staff report and resolution, and will likely do so for the forthcoming decade or so as we comply with everything that is required for us to comply with respect to housing after we get a certified document. Planning Commission's recommendation unanimously was, as conveyed in the staff report and resolution, is to comply with HCD's directive, which they have provided to us twice now. So both reviews, the public review draft and the adopted draft, came up with the same set of recommendations from HCD. This last time around, we complied with virtually every substantive requirement HCD made findings that we do. So with the exception of we held on to conditional use process, review process, which is a discretionary permit based on subjective findings that is issued by our Planning Commission. And we held on to that for multifamily housing in zones which currently permit multifamily housing. That's R2, R3, C1, and C2, excuse me, R3, C1, and C2. HCD said, nice try. You've got to allow not just deed restricted affordable housing, but you've got to allow all multifamily housing. The argument being that it not only serves our affordable housing community, which comes with deed restrictions for certain percentages of area median income, but you also need to serve what's referred to as the missing middle. A lot of those folks are in this room today, and a lot of them work for schools, local merchants, your city government, and so on. And those are folks who make just enough that they don't qualify for deed-restricted housing, but they do and are in sorry need of multifamily housing, particularly larger units, 2-3 bedrooms seem to peak of the demand. So in brief, what this staff report does is summarize the background for coming to that recommendation. At least initially, staff's interpretation presented to council was to comply with the request to change a certain program within the document itself, which is summarized in the staff report, specifically program HO 2.3.4, which strikes the qualifying component of the elimination of the CUP requirement from deed restricted to all multifamily housing. So that's the substantive change. That's the only recommended change that's come forth to you tonight from Planning Commission. I will say parenthetically that there are a number of outreach events and will continue to be at Planning Commission level, open houses and standard public hearings that will discuss the attachment C, is it? C to this staff report, which is objective design standards. That is the only HCD specified review regulatory body, if you will, for reviewing these housing projects. So instead of subjective guidelines moving forward, 1860 of our municipal code, we're going to create a new chapter called 1850. It's highlighted in here for your reference only. Future action on that will likely take place, I would expect, in the forthcoming months. So that's the end of my overview, and I'm certainly happy to answer questions for you.
Okay, Council, clarifying question?
Jeff, those are the objective design standards. Is that what's coming versus subjective ones?
Yes, sir, yes.
And to be clear, it's not an action item for tonight. So let me clarify. The objective, the draft objective design standards, attachment C, is not an action item for tonight. It's
That is
only
correct.
It's for informational purposes only, correct?
Right, it is, yes.
All right. Yeah. Yes.
Nope. Nope.
It's also been a long process to get to this point, and hopefully we will continue. So this is a public hearing. It is. Once again, the audience, you were invited to come up and speak your mind for 3 minutes on this item. I hope it's not being avoided being highly technical type of thing, but it's your chance. I guess not. So we'll close the public hearing. Get back to council for further comment, suggestions, discussion.
I'm prepared to make a motion.
Go ahead, Mr. Stern.
Move that the City Council adopt Resolution CCR 24, next number in order. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Mount Shasta approving the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, exemption pursuant to CEQA Section 15061, Sub B, Sub 3, and amendment to the adopted 2023-2031 housing element update with findings that it substantially complies with state housing element law. Title only.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 And aye. Opposed?
So passes unanimously with one absence?
Yes, got it.
Yep. And the planning director gets to speak again regarding public hearing to amend the Mount Shasta Municipal Code, chapters 5.5 and 18.21 regarding short-term rentals. Go ahead, Jeff.
Great, thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. I'll take a half step back on this. It's been a while since this has been before you. So in February of 2023, you all adopted Ordinance CCO 2301, which regulated short-term rentals. That document had, or that ordinance had, a good starting point for regulating short-term rentals. Since then, it's come to staff's attention that there have been an increasing number of applications for short-term rentals in residential zones. It's clearly part of the record, both in your deliberations back in February and since, that there is a fact to the basis that short-term rentals do tend to supplant long-term affordable housing, particularly in residential zones. The numbers are specified in here. In our zones, we have 16 total, a total of 53 citywide. So this ordinance before you does a few things, the very first of which is to prohibit future STRs in R2 and R3, so those 16 remain effectively legal nonconforming. It also says that if they're inactive for 6 months, they go away at the discretion of the city planner. It also says that if they're not in compliance for a 30-day period, if in the event of ownership, they don't reapply within a 30-day period, that permit goes away. So that's regardless of zone. Concurrent are a few other items which are more house cleaning in nature. The annual registration requirement is cleaned up with respect to some clerical specifications of R1 and R2 and 3 zones, which is now moot because they're prohibited. There's a compliance provision that does specify that inactivity within 6 months at the discretion of revocation by the planner, and that there are some scope of certificate requirements that are specified to include floor plans. We've been getting a lot of submittals that allude to STR adaptive reuse, but they don't go into enough detail to give city staff an understanding of where that unit is within the broader unit. So we had to clarify that a little bit. Additional text within chapter or section 5.50080, which says that if no permit is required within 30 days or acquired within 30 days, then that lapses and becomes an invalid permit. 1808 and 1821 get changed to rectify the definition of bed and breakfast. There was a case that I'm sure you're all familiar with, happened before my time, where a Airbnb, or excuse me, a bed and breakfast attempted to sell or provide certificates for off-site consumption of meals, not on-site provision of. That now, by this revision, is illegal. And that concludes the scope of the recommendations herein. I will point out that Peggy Reish had a few comments that I wanted to bring to your attention. This planner has experience with resolving these 3 primary comments. I'll leave it up to you to deliberate. If you so direct staff to amend this ordinance, we will do so and come back to you. And in brief, those comments were forwarded to you. They are a cap on the number of B&Bs citywide, potentially, the requirement or more specificity within the content of the ordinance that they require an on-site manager, not just a manager, so that there's actually a residence that's a manager that stays on top of things. We have 2 in town right now, both of which do have resident managers. And finally, the greater specificity that not only the meals be served on site, but they be prepared on site. So you couldn't prepare them at a commercial kitchen off-site and deliver them to the site, provide them to your guests. So Peggy's recommendation is that we actually specify the preparation of said meal on site. That's all I have to say. If you have questions, happy to help.
Okay, so, can you hear me? Okay.
Thank you, Jeff. Moving on to clarifying questions. Mr. Collins first.
Jeff, it seems you've got the definition issues on-site, breakfast on-site issues handled. Did I miss it, or is there a cap on the bed and breakfasts?
I'm sorry, what?
Is there a cap on the number of bed and breakfasts?
There is not citywide a cap. So a bed and breakfast is allowed in any zone in the city that currently allows residential. So that's R1, 2, 3, and C1 and 2.
Right.
So citywide, do you want to say, much as there are STRs at 3% of housing citywide, do you want to establish a similar cap for B&Bs?
Well, I think probably the rest of the council would like to give some input in that, but it just seems that the 2 issues are still allowed in all zones and no cap on the amount. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I would like to, I'd vote for some more.
Well, just a clarifying question. Is there state law that prohibits us from putting, for some reason I have the impression that there's something that would prohibit us from putting a cap on B&Bs, because anyone who owns a house and decides to serve food and have guests should have the right to do that? Or are we allowed as a city to put a hard cap on bed and breakfast? Is it allowed?
I can double check if that's your direction. My understanding is that it's a commercial enterprise for which a permit is required through a conditional use process, a discretionary process through planning commission, so, and that's within our purview to cap permits for.
So we could,
Yeah.
okay, that's your understanding, okay, great. Mr. Stearns?
I support the putting a cap of some sort on there. I don't know what, off the top of my head, what that number would be. Number two, I support the idea that the meals have to be prepared on site. We had a prior situation where the suggestion was bring them in.
Go next door.
Give a ticket. So, a true B&B. And third, that there is a on-site owner or manager for the B&B. So I support all three of those.
Okay. Not clarifying questions, that's something we'll talk about after the public hearing.
And I want to find out how other council feel about that.
Any thoughts?
The change from short-term rentals to eliminate R2, R3 moving forward, if I read it correctly, if someone were to sell their current residence, there is no longer the option of grandfathering it in and it would just go away. Is that correct?
They can if they do so within 30 days.
That's where the 30-day rule comes
That stays
into play.
put. We give them a 30-day grace period to renew that permit under the new owner.
Okay,
If
so
they don't do it, it goes away. And that number then drops. That permit gets out of the lottery, if you will.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, so one more clarifying question. This is an ordinance, we usually have a first reading and then a second reading. Is that your intention with this?
Yeah,
or-
just to consider this waive first reading, but if you want to move forward with these, it's my feeling there's enough substance here and work to be done that we would come back for a new first reading, not
Okay,
do those
I
between.
think so, because I
Yeah.
think we're going to be leaning towards some amendments.
Good.
And-
That's-
and, yeah, so I don't have any clarifying questions, so I'm going to stop that portion of this agenda item and go to a public hearing. And, we are down to 2 people in our audience. Would either one of you like to speak about short-term rentals and bed and breakfasts? Okay, that took 2 seconds, thanks. I'll just wait a few minutes here, not a few seconds, excuse me. And close the public hearing on this item. Back to council for discussion about additions, deletions, sounds like additions and amendments to what we're dealing with here. Ms. Stearns, what are your suggestions again?
Again, I would suggest that the ordinance be modified to provide that meals have to be prepared on-site by the on-site manager or owner of the property, and that there be a cap, and open to discussion.
Or the designated
It
manager.
doesn't have to be the owner, correct?
Doesn't have to be the owner, but the designated manager needs to be living on site. These are-
Yes,
right.
yes, there's an
Okay.
on-site manager or
Food
owner
prep there.
living on-site, and meals are prepared on-site.
Okay, those are 2 things.
And then some sort of cap to
Okay,
be
let's-
discussed.
Okay. Okay, so does anybody disagree with the 2 amendments where regarding a manager on site, owner or otherwise, and food prepared on site? Does anybody, okay, so we have agreement there. And then we're giving direction to staff essentially with this. Cap now. We have 2. I thought we would have more by now, but because I've had some building owners, I won't say who they are, who were explicitly talking about getting around the short-term rental cap by doing something with bed and breakfast. And it doesn't seem to have materialized unless they're doing it under the table. I haven't seen that, but anyhow, cap, any suggestions? 5, 10, 15?
5.
5, I like 5 too. All right,
Well, one more,
one more item?
where they can be.
Okay, so any suggestions, city planner?
Yeah, in previous experience, I'd say that the purpose and intent of our base zones is what ought to guide this kind of deliberation. Specifically, the practice of a B&B as a commercial enterprise on its very face. Commercial and residential zones don't necessarily go hand in hand with respect to purpose and intent. The preservation of a residential character-based neighborhood is to limit the amount of commercial intrusion into that neighborhood. R3 zones and C1-2 zones are intentionally mixed use. So with that exception, preserving the residential character of neighborhoods by preventing the intrusion of said commercial enterprises might give you some guidance. So maybe the prohibition would be limited to those residential zones only, and they would be allowed bed and breakfasts or inns or hotels, which all have slightly different definitional standards, could be allowed within commercial zones. That would be my...
Can I ask you a question? Please?
Yeah, go ahead.
To summarize what you're saying, what you would recommend is bed and breakfasts in C1, C2, and R3, but not in R1 and 2.
Or even to...
Just C1 and C2?
C1 and C2, and say that your intent to preserve the residential character of our zones is driving your recommendation to... Yeah.
Thank you.
But I would add that and again, it all comes down to the policy, but residential zones, potentially R3, is likely to have residences that, an owner owns and decides to convert into their own business. So just for consideration.
I would propose that we limit it to C1, C2, which, as we all know, incorporates many residences as well as retail establishments.
Right.
And it's downtown where people will have an opportunity to get out and walk.
Are the existing two B&Bs in C1, C2?
Say again?
They're not.
The two existing
bed and breakfasts, are they
They're both in our zones.
our zones?
And we can grandfather those.
All right, to summarize, to give direction to staff to come back with a first reading ordinance, we would like the definition of a bed and breakfast to include food being prepared at the site, that a manager be living, owner and/or manager be living at the site, that B&B permits be only granted to, for a total, have a cap of only 5 and only be placed in C1 and C2 zoned areas. That cover it? So 1, 2, 3, 4 items.
And manager, did you say the manager?
Manager, yeah, living on site.
So 5 in citywide.
Right.
Right?
So we have 2.
Got it.
So
5
there'd be 3.
citywide.
Yeah, and, I don't know what sort of language for the grandfathering, but of the 2, but we have 2 already, so, yeah.
So, Mr. Mayor?
Yep.
If I may, I'd like to make a motion that City Council approve or approve this ordinance with the amendments for a first reading of the ordinance, and that it come back to us. And it would be an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Mount Shasta, amending Municipal Code Chapters 5.50, 18.08, and 18.21 by title only, as amended this evening.
Thank you.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And aye. Any opposed? Redmond absent, and we move on. So that particular item has been in the works for a year at least?
A year.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, moving on. So city planner, might that be ready to go at the next meeting
It
in
will.
August? Okay,
Yep.
great. So the next item is regarding professional services for the development, the ongoing development of our EIFD, and this is somewhat of a technical maneuver required to make our EIFD properly whole. So, City Manager will have the floor.
Sure. One of the requirements for the formation of an enhanced infrastructure finance district, which is tax increment finance light in the state of California, is for cities to have a engineer's map and surveyor's documents prepared of those parcels that are included in the EIFD map, which it has been submitted. And we need these two items before we then can go out to a vote to the property owners that are included in the EIFD. And so for the preparation of the engineer's map and the surveying documents, I went out for bids. We received two. One was from Pace Engineering, which ranged between $12,000 and $16,000. My hesitation there is they haven't done these kind of maps before, so it took them a month and a half to put together a proposal, and they're able to give us a fixed price. The other firm that goes by the name of Blair Church and Flynn was recommended by Joe Dieguez at Cosmont. They were able to turn around a quote of $13,000 in 2 days, and they have prepared many of these engineer's maps and surveying documents, and I recommend going with Blair Church and Flynn.
Clarifying questions, staff? Counselors? Nope. All right, so this is not a public hearing, does not involve a public hearing, so we are going to take public comment on this item. And the public comment section of this agenda item is closed. We move on to further discussion or a motion.
We move that the City Council authorize staff to enter into a professional services agreement with Blair Church and Flynn in accordance with the July 25, 2024 proposal.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And aye. Any opposed? All right, we have a 4-0 vote and Redmond absent. We move on to agenda item number 12, which has now been shortened quite a bit because I don't have to talk about the Nolan Tam meeting regarding the library. That was already done. I do get to talk about the Collier Interpretive and Information Center, and I will do this very briefly. The center had, for the fiscal 24, which ended June 30th, had income of a little over $34,000, expenses a little over $34,000, $34.6 for a net loss of only $600. This organization needs all the donors and help that they can get going forward. So please, if you pass there, feel free to drop by, take a look at the place and donate, or donate indirectly through their website and so forth. The one main thing going on with respect to improvements there is the nature walk, interpretive walk, and that is nearing completion, or so I've been told. And essentially, it's a river walk with signage explaining all the great things nature-wise in the area. So there is my report regarding the Collier Interpretive and Information Center. Oh, there's one big major staff shakeup there. Grace, who's been the executive director of sorts, the person really running the place for years, decades, has decided to retire from that. So we're trying to figure out as a board what to do next. So maybe at the next meeting. The next meeting is going to be tough for me to get to because it's in Tule Lake, and that's very far away. Yeah. So we'll see if I make that one. Anyhow, that's the report on outside meetings. Does anybody have outside meeting reports? Okay. Future agenda items, we are slowly lowering the amount of future agenda items. I would say put the item regarding the Beers parcels, or Brownell parcels on there. It's going to happen anyhow, but make it a formal future agenda item. Anybody else? No. So without objection, I will close the meeting. 6:55. Thank you for all coming.